It's my new entrance music, everyone. I turn on like Skype. Hello, we saw a movie. And if you can read and saw the URL and the name of this video, then you might know what it was.
Well, don't keep us in suspense.
The movie most accurately can be described as a lot of people die so Brad Pitt may live.
Well, I think people were just dying anyway, so, you know, why not?
I haven't read the book. I
read the first 2 chapters a while back.
I know very little. Weren't they slow zombies, though?
As I recall, yeah, and it was like, it took a really long time for this outbreak to happen.
And you said while we were watching it that the outbreak happened in China?
I remember the opening of the book started with a suspected patient 0 in China.
So, I'm guessing very little is accurate.
Well, I mean, the cool thing about the book, what I really liked about the first 2 chapters, and then I lent the book to somebody, and then I got it back years later and I didn't care anymore, was that it was kind of like done as like, it's called, the subtitle is, it's World War Z, an oral history of the zombie war. And so it's like, you know, someone's like, well, I was in Texas and stuff, and it kind of jumps places to place as you get people's personal experiences from their point of view what happened. At least as far as I remember.
So this should have been a docudrama.
Yeah, I got really excited when I heard they were doing a movie. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. They could do it like a total mockumentary, like this is Spinal Tap, except serious, you know.
So it was like, you know, like Diary of the Dead.
I didn't see that.
It's George Romero's 5th zombie movie.
I don't do zombie movies, I'll be quite honest. I was dragged to Zombieland years ago, and I'm like, everyone was like, oh, cardio, double tap, there's Twinkies and that guy, and I'm like, we could be at Denny's right now.
Well, I liked Zombieland. I thought it was amusing.
Are you taking your shoes off during the vlog?
Yeah, it's not quite as sexy as Brad with his, you know, shoes already off and wearing no socks, but
I am. What are you, Fred Rogers? You're gonna come home and like put on a different sweater now?
Nope. But I'm gonna do this.
Aww.
But yeah. So if you like the book, you might get annoyed. This was, to begin with, very stupid.
Don't shout, because remember we're in an apartment building.
Then, as it went on, the stupidity level slowly grew.
No, I disagree. Actually, there were some plot points where I was like, really? No, that doesn't. But then she could be like, oh, I just like how it's like things and stuff. Well, actually, it is like things and stuff because of X, Y, Z thing. I'm going to cite my resources here. Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
So maybe we should start off at the start of the film and sort of just go on.
Yeah. So it starts with
So wait, non-spoiler review.
No spoilers for you.
Sorry, this is our very quick non-spoiler review. Nothing like the book. Kind of stupid.
There are zombies.
Very little blood. Kind of makes the argument, you know, that I absolutely adore, which is zombies are the only type of horror character that require gore. You need either, you know, if a zombie movie is not 15/R or 18/NC-17, don't. Unless it's Joshua Saturna, because they sang.
Well, that's a good stuff. I really can argue, and I don't do zombies, so.
Because the fear.
Not to be as we did title an episode of Lesbian Talk, Hipster Zombie Haters. I was so over zombies back like 10 years ago. And all my friends were like, oh my gosh, put a zombie on it. I'm like, oh, shut up.
Well, with just in case anyone disagrees with me about this, my logic is the fear that zombies give you is the fear of cadavers, it's the fear of death in general, fear of infection, the fear of it's body horror, it's gore, it's blood.
Well, it's death embodied because if there's a dead body over there,
or disease,
because go with me on this, because. Back in the day, I think this is a deeper instinctual, like sociological thing. So back in the day, people didn't know how disease spread.
Mm-hmm.
So the easiest form of disease control was straight quarantine. Oh, there's plague in your house? No one goes near you. You're dead to the village.
Yeah, they thought it was bad smells that
right.
Demons.
Like miasma. They believed in the miasma theory of disease up until the cholera epidemic of London in 1852 with when John Snow actually worked out that it was waterborne. But this is true. You can
Jon
Google it.
Snow.
Jon Snow. I don't think it was his name. Yeah.
Holy crap! I mean, he took a
Well,
holiday from going above the wall, in the Night Watch in Westeros, and he came and.
No, I don't watch Game of Thrones. No, this is for actually. If you want to read a really great book about it, and
Sean Bean was
how
very
it,
proud of his son.
would you stop about Sean Bean? About how it actually changed the way that London looked at sanitation. The Ghost Map. I forget who the author is, but it's a really great book, so check it out. But
yeah,
But so a dead body was over there. If you went and touched it, you ran a very high risk of catching whatever killed them, catching death. You could remove yourself from the situation. A dead body is not going to come up after you. They didn't know that, it's airborne, or the bacteria from where the person touched before they died, they could still get it from that. So I think that instinctually, we still have a connotation of, if the dead, almost like a child, if I'm not touching the thing, it's okay. Yeah. But this is now death personified coming after you to kill you in either a vector of contagion or a violent vector, or
With the idea of them being death personified, that's that's literal with the old school Romero zombies. With these, I'm saying that it's that, but it's also got an unhealthy dose of plague plus wild animals.
Yeah, because these ones were very, very animal. They got like super speed, and they got a whole bunch of super abilities.
Yeah, so it's like whenever I was younger, I would always try to work out, that basically the old school zombie movies, that's a force of nature. You can't kill all the zombies, you just got to get out of their way. They're slow moving, you can work out where they're coming from. Yeah. You just get out of their way, a bit like the Borg. The new style of zombies are basically wolves.
That's a very good comparison. Good job.
But your very short review of the movie?
I mean, I liked it. Well, one of the things that I liked is it opened in Philly. And I know, Susie the Blockbuster chick will kill us if we don't say that, okay, most of the Philly scenes were filmed in Glasgow with,
Glasgow.
Whatever, in Scotland, in a city, the one that's not Edinburgh. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Edinburgh.
There weren't any sheep, so I guess we have to be sure. But some of the pickup and establishing shots were Philly. You could see 1 and 2 Liberty Place, and there was a part you could see 676 and 95. You could see the Ben Franklin Bridge, but it was really cool because they're trapped in this traffic jam, and they say, "Wait, there's no way out." And I'm like,
it's a bit like Pride, but if you replace all the gay people with zombies.
Yeah, well, kind of, I guess, except for no protesters. But
especially the Christian protesters saying, "We don't agree with your lifestyle choice of being
zombies." It's so good. Oh my gosh, Westboro Baptist Church.
What do you do with gay zombie film where homosexuality is literally a zombie virus? Makes everyone fabulous.
Join the gay agenda, Cox.
This is like that's actually the exact opposite of a zombie movie I came up with, which was.
Don't ruin it.
Okay.
But so anyway, they're like, it looks like they're on either Broad. It looks like either they're meant to be on Broad Street or like Walnut or Chestnut, which are some of the three main veins of Philly.
Three of you who know Philly will know that.
And so it's like, there's no way out from here. And I thought to myself, oh, of course, yeah, because there's that circle, where City Hall is. But so that part was pretty cool because it's always New York. The climax of the movie, it's always New York or Metropolis or Gotham being destroyed. I never get to see Philly destroyed, finally, for me.
Last year it was Chicago getting destroyed multiple times. Really? This year it was London. So, but yeah, I agree.
Finally!
I have never seen Philly be destroyed, and being someone who grew up seeing, bits of my hometown being destroyed on the news nightly over many years, it is a great thrill to see your homeland blown up in an entertainment context.
God bless him. Although you could tell that there were some flyover shots, and I was like, wait a second, that church is not in Philadelphia. No. Peter and Paul doesn't look like that. And then there was like a flyover of the square with this like one like monument. I was like, no, that must have been from Scotland. But I was entertained. And I know that I was entertained by this movie because I didn't spend the whole entire time thinking about what I was going to bitch about in the vlog. I thought about what I was going to discuss, but not bitch about.
I did that.
Brad Pitt, he did a good job. He usually does. It's kind of
just weird that he was. They had a weird Chekhov's gun about the fact that he was apparently born in the UK and he has family that are still in the UK, and they just out of nowhere they mention this, and then Brad Pitt says that, he that if you get 2 bottles of wine into him, he sounds English. And it's
No. I think that I think that his wife was British, but had been over here long enough to lose her accent, and he was joking and say, "Well, you will get 2 bottles of wine in me. I sound British."
I thought it was the other way around, but it was him. But so I was just thinking that sounded like that was like a weird Chekhov's gun. It was like, especially considering.
Well, it was a bit of establishment for the character. That was part of the.
I know, but then they were actually in the UK, and it was like, really, your extended family's not going to. That was the old lady.
I don't think so.
There's an old lady. Maybe that was the old lady.
I don't think he was supposed, but he did a good job. It's really weird because there was this guy I knew, the heroin addict, actually.
The heroin addict.
I don't.
Everyone in this show has a nickname.
It's because I don't want to use his name because
the douche.
He had some issues. We still talk occasionally. You deal with life as it comes. But he kind of looks like Brad Pitt. So now, whenever I see a movie with Brad Pitt in it, it's impossible not to see this guy that I know. But he did a good job. It was well acted. The disaster effects were pretty good. Like there was a car crash in the beginning of the film that. And I, 2 weeks ago, was in an accident, a very low-speed accident, so I'm fine. Everything is fine, but it was just like, boom, 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 and I was like, ah. And she goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." When you've been in a few car accidents, and when you see a very well-presented car accident, you're like...
Note to self, make her watch Crash.
No, I'm not gonna.
The David Cronenberg version.
But, so, I mean, okay, there were a few logical points that I'm sure you'll bring up, but...
Oh, yeah.
However, it was entertaining. I couldn't really find enough major flaws. It wasn't like Superman where I was like, "Oh, God. Oh, jeez." And it was only an hour and 56 minutes long. It was perfect length, and there you go.
Okay, now the spoilers are over. We're going into the spoilers. We're going to start off, because this is very episodic, we're going to start off in the start of it. I'm assuming that at least parts of the episodes that we had were based on bits of the book. I'm hopefully going to be right about it.
Sorry, I let you down this time, guys.
This is like The Lawnmower Man, and they bought the rights to World War Z after they had the script written, and then they claimed
or
it was
like
based
with
on it.
Or like with iRobot. They
And
basically...
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, that was... When I heard they were going to do an iRobot movie, I was like, "Oh, this is like my eyes just like lit up." I was like, bling. And then I found out that basically they had a pre-existing robot script that they shoehorned in the 3 laws of robotics and called it iRobot. I was like, really?
Her eyes go bling. It's her O face.
Literally, oh.
Yeah, well, do you know what they should have called that movie?
Mm-hmm.
They should have called it iRobot, one word like iMac.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
But
Call Hollywood.
Yes. But okay, starting from the start. Oh, there was something else. God damn it! I forgot what I was going to say. It's really clever. It was after the O face. There was going to be something else. Go back and over what you were saying.
Isaac Asimov, my O face, bling.
No, before that.
I was so happy about it. It was like they had already had the script and they just called it World War Z. Or they read the script before they got the rights.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
I said, "Oh, it's like iRobot" when I find out.
God damn it. Oh well, maybe I'll think of it again. I always remember.
Thus far in the vlog we've covered.
I always forget things that I wanted to say and then kick myself later on. Like for Superman, I wanted to point out that Jor-El deliberately lets Kal-El not be assigned some sort of a role in society so he can be free to choose, but then he kind of sets it up that he has to be a hero. So it's like, I'm not going to genetically make you a hero, but I'm going to do it in every other way possible. You cunt. Do what I say.
I think he just did say that.
Yeah, that was a quote from Superman. But, okay, starting off at the start, there was Philly and it blew up.
Yeah, that was kind of fulfilling.
It was...
Then they ended up in, like, there's a scene of incredible devastation and fires and looting everywhere. And they're like, Newark, New Jersey. And I'm about to say, I turned to her and I'm about to say something, and then what did you say to me?
So something along the lines of, we can't tell the difference from normal.
And I was about to say, gee, it's Newark though. Who noticed anything?
But, okay. One of my issues with the film, which happens in New York, you got this lovely Mexican family who, at the danger to their own lives, help Brad Pitt and family.
That was not a danger to their own lives, though.
Well, they open the door, with noise outside, and there's zombies about. That's a danger to your life.
All right.
They let him in, but then, as per usual for minority characters in a film where the theme is the magical white guy survives everything. the minority characters help them on their way, and then they die, except for the small boy, who had an anglicized name, so that's why he's honorably white and therefore survives.
No. Actually, he anglicized Tommy's name because...
Oh, so Brad Pitt bestowed upon him whiteness, so therefore he was allowed to survive the movie.
Yeah, because when they first come in, he goes, "Hi, I'm Thomas."
And he was like, "Oh, hello, Tommy. You are now one of us." No, the film would introduce minority characters occasionally.
Well, what about
this is a trope.
What
that
about the
happens a lot in
undersecretary of the UN?
He never got in
was
danger.
African.
He was, but he never went in danger.
He was on a plane.
He was. No, he wasn't. He was on an aircraft carrier.
He was on a plane being flown out of D.C. or New York or something. That's where he calls him from. They're on a plane from New York.
No, he was.
Yeah, because that's where the UN is.
New York. Yeah, but he was. But he was never in the film in danger directly. So that's why he never died. It's, there was one minority character I can think of that survived, and that's this guy when we get to the UK. But the film gets really stupid whenever Israel gets involved. So there's Newark, and then Newark's on fire, and it's just like, oh, it's a Thursday, and then everywhere was on fire. What the hell would Cory Booker do? Cory Booker, sorry, he was like, oh no, I can't run into them and save people, and all of them. You're not getting this New Jersey politics reference, are you? He was the mayor of Newark, and he saved a family from a burning house.
Yeah, the guy.
His entire city's on fire.
He was probably like, he's like the Chuck Norris of New Jersey, though. He's probably like, don't worry, I'll handle this. He's like, smashing zombies' faces with his bare
He got really tired just trying to run in there and save everyone, and it's like, oh. But, yeah, there was a nice family, and then they escape, and then they're like...
Oh, he has a wife and 2 girls, by the way.
Yeah, and then they, the UN are after Brad Pitt. I'm not sure why the UN are after Brad Pitt. It's like, you have been in these dangerous places, so therefore...
No. Okay, so apparently, as you find out through the course of the film, Brad Pitt used to be an investigator for the UN. And apparently, he learned a shit ton of skills. He's been in all these horrible war-torn nations, and he's not really special ops, but he has a lot of training and skills. And apparently you find out that he, in 2010, wrote this scathing report about the UN and all this stuff, and he said, I'm out, things and stuff, and I'm retiring. And that's why they're like, we need you back. And it's like, no.
Well, I was just thinking that there's got to be at least 40 or 50 guys in America or around the world, who have similar expertise as him, and they're like...
Maybe they could. He was the only one they could reach.
I find that rather hard to believe.
Maybe
that
the others
like
shelter you back.
There's no one as good as him that was still working for them, because it's like...
Maybe everyone else said no, but he was like, yeah, I got this family I need you to save.
Well, they could have been all like, oh, he's like, Brad Pitt's like, all right, I'm in Europe, come and save me. He's like, oh, sorry, Brad. We found a guy who doesn't need to be rescued. Let the zombies eat you.
But also keep in mind this: now the undersecretary of the UN is also his close personal friend. So
that's why he got canned from the UN.
Well, I don't know.
That doesn't really make sense.
Well, no, he didn't. He stepped down.
Yeah, he was like, I'm going to be all scathing to my friend, and then then I get like blacklisted.
So that's only what the Mossad agent said. But so they end up on this aircraft carrier. It's stuffed to the gills with people.
They're all like, oh, okay. They're in this tower block in New Jersey, and then they're going up to the roof, and he's like, how are we going to know it's you? And it's like, we got flares, and it's like, I'm sorry, there's a lot of crazy people in America. I'm thinking that at least that more than one tower block in New York are going to have someone with a flare. So,
maybe they got at dawn.
How can we tell the difference?
Maybe they got lucky. But anyway, they ended up on this aircraft carrier. They're stuffed to the gills with people. And they're like, you need to come back. He's like, no. And like, you need to. He's like, no. And like, we'll basically chuck you and your family off the aircraft carrier. So fuck you. He's like,
we have a plank.
Fuck. So they're like, we have this brilliant virologist, this English guy. He's like, don't worry, I know viruses and things and stuff. And he's like this brilliant virologist.
I'm giving you all this information, so therefore I'm going to die immediately.
That's what, I mean, well, you'd like, so,
Sorry, I'm just amused.
Oh, but, yeah, that's what I was thinking, he's like, that kid's awfully young, but so, they're like, we got this report from South Korea, so you take this virologist and an entire SEAL team, and go there, and they give him, he has a satellite phone, and I'm assuming it's a satellite phone because that's the only way he could have kept calling her, his wife, was the other phone, who's in an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So they fly.
Magical walkie-talkies.
Well, actually, I think it was a satellite phone. That's why they were so big and bulky with the thing. But so anyway, they send, they're on their way to South Korea, to this base, and the guy says to the virologist, "Don't worry, these are Navy SEALs. You do what they say. They'll keep us safe. We're just gonna look for clues and all this stuff." And then he goes on this mad little rant about, oh well, Skype. Oh well, so Mother Nature, she leaves all these clues, and she's a serial killer, but there's all the crumbs of evidence, and you need to. And so they get to South Korea, and
well, I have bestowed my wisdom upon Brad Pitt, therefore it's my time to die.
Yeah, like so they get there and they bring the plane down, and the base looks deserted, and zombies jump them like the fucking second they get off the plane, and they give the scientist, the doctor, a handgun. And because all of them armed, he has a handgun too. So he's running back up the plank back to the ship, and he slips, and his gun discharges, and he kills himself.
Well, at least the guy managed to kill a potential zombie.
That's
himself.
True. So they get to South Korea, and there's some army men that are holed up on the base.
No Koreans, by the way. Magical white people survive.
But honey, it was a U.S. military base in South Korea.
I know, but
and no, because the doctor was Korean.
He was dead.
That doesn't matter.
That's what the survivors.
In the flashback, he was played by. But if they're all American soldiers, why would there be non-essential personnel on a base in South Korea, especially during a zombie attack?
You win this round.
Exactly. You're just looking for trouble. So they're like, oh yeah, well
this is the mind that got me a review series.
Yeah. Well, so they're like, oh yeah, well see, there was this village where this soldier came back, and he was real sick, and our doctor went to go, check out what happened, and he came back, and he started biting people, and so like all these Marines died, all these Army guys died trying to just shackle him down to the beds. They torched the whole place, and so
well, there was still a finger moving, even though they destroyed the brain.
That was kind of cool. Like
it was.
I thought it was gonna be like thingy, like.
It was a very, very striking. It was probably the best, most effective shot of the thing. But the only thought was, that's attached to a person who's apparently been shot in the head, so I'm confused.
Well, the whole room was torched, which is cool. So
yeah,
they're wandering around, and they have a prisoner in their break who is, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's played by the guy that played Brutus in The Green Mile. So that guy. And then he's like, who's this guy? I was like, oh, he's a CIA agent that we caught selling weapons to the North Koreans.
When?
Yeah, they never say when.
Because he knows about the zombie outbreak. He claims that the North Koreans are okay because they all removed their teeth, and
and they show the fact that he's had all his teeth removed.
And he's all like, I'm crazy.
Actually, I mean, and he does make the point. He's like, well, how is North Korea fine? Well, it's that's the one good thing about a country that's that tightly controlled. Within 24 hours, they pulled out everyone's teeth.
And yeah, but he sort of laughs maniacally afterwards, indicating that it might not be true or probably isn't true. But then,
and he's like a conspiracy theorist too.
Yeah, so then Brad Pitt's like, I lost my virologist, but I'm going to talk to you about the zombie thing because I decided because I'm Brad Pitt, I'm totally the best person to find it without the virologist. So what do you?
He just wants to know what the guy knows. I mean,
do you have information? He's like, yes. I'm going to echo the anti-Semitic conspiracy theory about 9/11 that the Jews knew it was coming. And then you're going to take me seriously, and then it's going to be true.
Yeah, like with this was the one plot insignificance that I will agree with you on. Is the fact that he's like, oh yeah, well Israel's doing fine against the zombies.
How does he know this?
Yeah, no, first of all, how does he know? Second of all, why does Brad Pitt believe him without any confirmation? They're like, oh yeah, well they knew it was coming. They built a wall. He's like, all right, we're going to Jews.
Yeah. If apparently, I'm just thinking that if Jerusalem had if Israel had built massive walls around, I think, more than
one city. Don't you think something would have come up somewhere?
It would have been in the media, so Brad Pitt wouldn't have needed this guy to tell him. Or if it's super secret and they've just built it since the zombie apocalypse happened, and immediately, and it's like,
yeah, no real time frame was ever given for this.
Well, the guy
they sent the email a few weeks ago.
It was open. The place was finished for like 5 days beforehand. Yeah. So.
Oh, one thing that I forgot to say that I wanted to point out in the opening montage, you have like the news and stuff like that. And one of the clips they use is the actual footage with the caption from the 911 call that was showed on the news of the guy, the bath salts guy who ate the face off that homeless guy in Florida. The thing that actually really happened. That guy who's still in the hospital has had like something like 17 surgeries on his face.
Well, he's in a movie with co-starring with Brad Pitt.
I thought that was kind of tasteless to use actual footage like that, but whatever. I mean,
it's it's the same. I have the same problem, but it's the same problem I had with Apocalypse doing the same thing.
But guess where we go? And by now,
and then of course I used the same footage from Apocalypse just to either be hypocritical or to further damage them.
Ironically. So then when they go to Jerusalem, and by now he's down to the one seal, the only one who can fight a plane, mind.
Well, yeah, I think he was played by Nestor Carbonell, or what we call him. The guy was the mayor in Dark Knight, and he played Batmanuel in the Tick series. I think it's him. But they're like, okay, the guys are like, Brad Pitt's like, okay, I talked to this guy, this conspiracy theorist, who seems to be pretty anti-Semitic, who's probably just been listening to Alex Jones a lot, says we should go to Israel, so we're going to go to Israel, and then so, like, all these SEALs who've been in there for 16 days against the zombies by themselves are like, okay, we're all going to sacrifice ourselves so you can get away, because you're magical Brad Pitt and you're the whitest of the white, all die.
They don't all die.
Well,
the one guy died.
All of the ones who went out there, with them, to help, all died.
Oh.
They all died. There was one guy left, and he was in the back. And like, we still need to detach. Oh no!
He was one of theirs.
Yeah, they're saying all the guys who went out to help them, get out there, they all died. And he was like,
no, not the snipers. But the snipers were on top of the building.
Yeah, the snipers were. Everyone who was at the plane.
Oh, okay.
So there's still about 8 of them. So, but then they're all like, this guy's like, oh, I'm going to survive with Brad and be all okay and everything's like, oh, by the way, he was disconnected.
He was. Well, anyway, so Jerusalem. Otherwise, we're going to be talking all night. And I gotta go to work tomorrow. So they get there, and he apparently he knows this Mossad agent. So he gets in to talk to the Mossad agent, who's basically like, yeah, well, he was like, how did you? What is basically what Brad Pitt said. He's like, well, look, we intercepted a communique from an Indian general that said he was losing men by the thousands fighting the Rakshasa. And he goes, the what? He goes, the zombies. And so they're have a walking through scene.
Let's look that word up.
I know what Rakshasa means. It's like, some kind of like undead creature, because in Vampire the Requiem, there's a Nosferatu bloodline called the Rakshasa.
Okay.
Yeah, so that actually is a real...
Fascinating.
The things you learn from role-playing. But so he was like, really? You thought that you heard one person say there were zombies, you thought there was? He was like, well, we got reports about all the, all these outbreaks in Southeast Asia and all this unexplained violent behavior. And he said, I didn't, and see, this is where we have a bit of contention. He said, and this is key now, I didn't think they actually meant zombies. I thought they were using that word in place of something else. So, before you do, I'm gonna state my thing. So I interpreted that to mean they thought that it was maybe a terrorist army, or it was some kind of huge gang or crime syndicate, that they were saying zombie the way you would say a thug or, Yakuza or something like that. And so they... What?
I'm just waiting.
Okay. And so that's the strength on which they based this plan. You obviously disagree because you don't love liberty.
Okay, he says that they've got this system called the 10th man, which I have never heard of, but it sounds like the sort of thing that could happen where you get 10 people together, and then if you've got 9 of them agreeing on something, then the 10th person has to assume that it's...
The devil's advocate.
Yeah, that it's not true. Or it is true if they all say that it's not. And so apparently there were 9 guys who were all like, oh, these zombies can't really be anything that's have to worry about. So the 10th guy, assuming that it was real, and even assuming that they weren't literal zombies.
And he's Mossad. He could have been lying.
He was assuming that there was he didn't think they were actual zombies, but still, based on the fact that he assumed that it was real, either he.
But they had corroborative evidence.
Either he completely went over his what he's allowed to do and built the wall on his own authority, which is like 1,800 meters tall around Jerusalem, or. Apparently Israel's got enough money just to create these, crazy sort of things for the 10th man dealing with anything.
Well, whatever evidence he presented, obviously it was strong enough. I mean, building projects like this in a city as ancient as Jerusalem, don't just happen overnight.
Another logical problem I worked out, okay, they think the zombies are terrorists or some sort of thugs or whatever.
Or some kind of invading army.
It's not like Israel deals with that right now,
Or
and they
some
still
kind-
haven't created walls that big.
Or he didn't mean literal. He didn't think it was literal zombies, but some kind of pathogen.
The pathogens quite often aren't stopped by giant walls.
Quarantine.
I just maintain that the origin of Israel having its massive walls is absolutely ridiculous, and the guy is probably crazy, and it's not really going to help with conspiracy. Just imagine after the zombie war, they're going to have everyone going to be like, Israel had these massive walls to keep the zombies out. The Jews started this.
Hey, mankind's going to have more to worry about than Israel.
Anti-Semitism is going to flourish in the new dawn.
But anyway, so it was actually a pretty cool scene where he takes him to the one gate and he goes, "This is the salvation gate of Jerusalem," and there's signs in Hebrew and there's signs in Arabic, and there's people in these walkways that they're kind of built out of chain link, and you see them coming into the city so that people can walk into the city and be saved from the zombies trying to get in too. And so Brad Pitt is like, "You're letting people in?" And they say, "Yeah, every human being that we let in is one more zombie we don't have to fight." And so I realized that this was actually pretty cool. It had a kind of deeper meaning, because Israel is usually the aggressor against Palestine, recently anyway, and they're usually the ones with the upper hand, with a better position. And so you have that again here, but then they have a scene where people are coming through the checkpoint, and there's some Muslims who are praying and everything, and people are gathering and talking, and then there's some rabbis are standing around and praying and
Can I say my thing?
Yeah, but
okay. Well, if you're gonna say your thing, then I can get on to my bit.
And I said, here would be Israel's golden chance to wipe out the Palestinian state for good, just not let them in. But they were, and I was like, wow, that's kind of really cool. And I know that this might never happen in the real world, but just the idea that was presented by this scene was that there is something indelible about humanity, that even in the most horrible situation, even when threatened with extinction, sometimes goodness does come through.
Now, my take on this was, but remember, I'm coming from the POV that that
theory
the Mossad agent guy, who I'm still convinced was in charge of Jerusalem, that he is crazy. So my thought is, he said that these are every one person they bring inside is someone they don't have to fight anymore. It's another zombie they don't have to fight. I'm thinking they very quietly shoot them in the head and throw them over the wall, another part of the wall.
There is no context to support that theory.
I got several bits of logical evidence for this. One, it's Jerusalem. There's not a lot of this. It's going to be crowded anyway, and they're not going to have any way to get new food. They don't have enough food for their own people for a long period of time, let alone letting extra people in.
You don't know that their wall preparations might not have included that.
They still have a limited amount. The guy was effing crazy.
He was not crazy.
I think he was.
They even go out. He was. Brad Pitt even says, and you're, one of the most oldest, most experienced Mossad agents, one of the most sober and calculating and rational and not prone to
is pretty calculated.
But there's no evidence to support that outside of your own assumptions.
Yeah, based on that's based on what was going
You're
on.
You're making a lot of leaps that are.
It's entirely possible, but it's no more leaps than the movie makes itself.
But anyway, so eventually, because everyone starts singing, there were the rabbis who were praying, and this other Jew walks up and starts praying with them, and they start singing, and then the Muslims that were praying next to them, so everyone starts singing this song that I don't know what language it was in, but apparently everyone knew. And then one girl had a microphone, and they turn on this amp, and everybody is singing, and the sound. These zombies are drawn by sound, so they make this kind of like ant tower up over the wall in Jerusalem Falls.
That is ludicrously hilarious.
It really actually was.
And it's all I can think of. Omega is convinced that it was started off by the rabbis singing. I honestly didn't get that impression. What I got was that it was started off by a Muslim call to prayer or of some sort.
No, because
I thought
it was not
more,
a call to prayer. They were singing a song with lyrics, and
didn't-
everybody was like waving their flags and singing along.
It didn't sound like a call to prayer, I admit that, but I thought it was something like that. I thought it was the Palestinians. So my thought was after that, after the zombies killed Jerusalem was, are you happy, Palestine? You broke Jerusalem. Now no one has it.
Oh, would you stop? So anyway, Jerusalem falls.
So apparently I'm making enemies on both sides right now.
We're never going to the Middle East. But so...
I've been to Israel.
I know. So Jerusalem falls, and the Mossad agent gets overtaken, and he says to some Israeli soldiers, just get him out of here, just get him out of here. So...
Because Brad Pitt must survive. There's no logical reason why, but he must survive.
Because they were friends. He says, get him out of here.
Yep.
He wants his friend to survive. So, I'm not going to tell people to get you out alive then. When this happens, I will be like, no, because now she'll be like, oh, I must survive because I'm the white girl. So anyway, so he's with some Israeli soldiers, and this one girl gets bit in the hand. He goes, oh, and he takes out he takes her Bowie knife and he cuts off her hand. And they bandage it and they wait the 12 seconds. She doesn't turn.
Yeah,
so,
which is bad in its own way. Although this has precedent in zombie movies, heartbeats, if you get an infection, it takes less time than to pull out a knife, go wah, and cut someone's hand off for the infected bit to get further into the bloodstream. It takes a lot less than that. It's like one heartbeat to go like so.
I don't know, but maybe there wasn't. It hadn't. Like maybe there was like 3 viruses in there, and they have and then they got. I don't know how that works. Well, but in this mythology, it takes at least 12 seconds.
Yeah, which would mean that it would have to be as fast as like the heartbeat thing. It's got precedent, but it's stupid.
So they're escaping and they get to the airport, but his seal buggered and took off without him, which made me wonder: is he just like stuck flying that plane around the world in circles?
It's like, well, I'm let you know, there's no way in hell that I'm going to survive this film if I hang around with Brad Pitt.
So they finally get on. They manage to.
They get on the plane. They get on the plane. Okay, you're going to yell at me again for this, but they got this passenger jet, and they actually stop it.
Belarus Airlines.
Yeah, they actually stop it by getting some guys with guns, in front of it. I've seen Argo. You can't stop a passenger jet with guys with guns.
Well, these pilots stopped for them.
They
were taxiing though. They weren't on takeoff.
Then I was just thinking, passenger jet. In day something of a zombie apocalypse, because the guy has gone. Brad Pitt's gone from like there to there to there to there. This be like we don't know how many days in this is. So I'm just thinking Belarus Airlines, hardcore.
No, here's and she said
I will use this holiday. I have spent all year saving up for it. I will go into the Holy Land. Zombies or no.
No, because here's what I could see happen. Belarus Airlines had a flight that landed in Jerusalem. Jerusalem goes on lockdown while they're there. The flight crew is still there. The plane is still there. Now that everything's gone to shit...
They were still flying before that, though. It's...
Okay, alright, so imagine the scenario. So the crew is at the airport. Where else are they going to go? Things, start... It's obvious that the city is rapidly falling. They make a decision. They say, we're getting the fuck out of here. They take as many people as they can shove on. Those people might not have held tickets. Those might have been people from random countries who were just stuck in Jerusalem at the time. What it looked like to me is as many planes as could were getting the fuck out of there with as many people as possible. I don't think it was a scheduled flight.
Oh yeah, even I'm just wondering because unless they were grounded there days beforehand,
which I think was quite likely given how many flights go in and out of Jerusalem. We're never going to get to the end of the movie. I am so sorry, you guys.
I'm just thinking that the flight crew wouldn't have been there and perfectly groomed if they'd been there for a lot of days.
They weren't perfectly groomed. Those guys had 3 days worth of stubble.
I'm talking about the stewardess who was really stupid and
Stewardesses are always immaculately groomed.
Okay, fair enough.
So they get on the flight. It's him and I forget her name, but it was some Israeli name. And he,
she's white too.
A lot of Israelis are white.
No, I'm just saying that apparently everyone who's invincible in this is white.
Oh, would you stop it? So anyway, no, because.
They mentioned early on that some people are bitten, but they don't actually turn immediately.
Yeah,
that's a bit of Chekhov's gun that they never go with.
See, I figured there was a scene when they're escaping the apartment building in Newark where he goes blood because he got some of the blood in his mouth, and he starts counting the 12 seconds, and he runs to the edge of the building, ready to throw himself off if he turns,
Yeah.
and he doesn't. So when they said that line about 5% of the population doesn't turn immediately, I said, I bet that's going to happen by the end of the movie. He's one of the 5% that doesn't turn, and it never came
Yeah,
out.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I know that there was an alternate and they had to do reshoots. So I'm thinking at the end,
Yeah.
either Brad Pitt or the Israeli woman turned at the end, and possibly it was a darker ending, like I Am Legend. Now they decided to do a happier one. I don't know.
So they're on the plane, and he figures out that, wait a second, all the people that I saw the zombies leave alone, there must be something about that. And so he calls the UN, and he says, talk to the pilots, and they convince the pilots to take them to Cardiff, where apparently there's a World Health Organization.
The closest one to Israel is Cardiff.
Hey, I don't know, but that they knew might not have fallen.
But it's
So they're on there. They're saying, "Okay, we're making our final descent into Cardiff," and apparently there was a zombie hanging out in one of the little closets that they store.
That must be one of the ones
pretzels
who was
in.
bitten and then took a long time to turn.
That's the little thing I can think of, because why would it not have done anything
I
before
thought it was in
that?
the toilet.
Was it in the toilet?
I think, and then the stewardess was like, "Oh look, someone's in the toilet, and we're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. I'm going to assume that the person in there who's not who's been in there the entire flight is a zombie. Is not a zombie. Oh my God!
And so-
I'm so sorry. I'm wrong."
And actually, someone sitting in the theater goes, "Zombies on a plane." And I was like,
And I quoted the name of a rather not brilliant film, Flight of the Living Dead.
nice. So everyone, shit done got real. So it's him and the Israeli agent, and she has a grenade on her belt.
They used all this. It's all the
Yeah, they're piling luggage up
The
between the first class area and
the
coach.
ridiculously large carry-on luggage. Then they use it to block off the coach class, because apparently working class people need to die. It's not just white people; it needs to be poor white people too.
But anyway, so everyone done got zombified. So he takes the grenade and he throws it towards the back of the plane. Of course, it blows a hole in the plane, and all the zombies are sucked out.
That's the most sensible thing in the entire film, because the zombies, they're going to go towards the noise,
Yeah.
which is obviously the roaring of the wind going up the hole, which makes them more likely to fly out.
So the cabin's depressurized, and the pilots put their masks on, and they're gonna have to crash the plane. And so he and the Israeli soldier built themselves in, and
No one else does, because everyone else dies.
everyone else is pretty much a zombie by that point. And so the plane crashes in the wilderness.
It almost hits a mountain. I don't know if you've ever flown into Cardiff Airport, but I don't recall any mountains or forests.
But here's the thing. You were coming in on a scheduled flight. These guys were winging it. They probably weren't following FAA guidelines. We don't know what direction they were coming from.
I could be
There
wrong.
are mountains in Wales, so it's plausible.
It's possible.
Mythbusters says plausible.
But they land so close to Cardiff that Brad Pitt manages to get stabbed through the abdomen, and he manages to walk to the World Health Organization.
He got some
place.
shrapnel in the gut. So he and the Israeli soldier, they limp through Cardiff, and
How? Well, no, we didn't see them go to Cardiff. We saw them in a little
it's
village.
in a village. We don't know if it was Cardiff or not.
Because if they were in Cardiff, obviously they could have enlisted Torchwood, and the whole thing would have been over by the end of 45 minutes. But or at least a 5-part miniseries.
Where's the doctor when you really need him?
Yeah, but then Brad Pitt survived, even though he was stabbed in there, and then they found this World Health Organization thing, which is like a top secret building. Somehow, it's just
but back at the UN, they assume he's dead. So because he's not alive anymore, they take his wife, his children, and adoptive Tomas, and they send them to a refugee camp in Nova Scotia.
We still got a plank.
So he wakes up in the World Health Organization thingy, where there's a handful of scientists, and they've bandaged him up and everything.
Bizarrely, for one set in Wales, you got the boss guy is Middle Eastern of some kind. He's the only minority character who's actually in danger who survives. So good for him. There's an English person, there's an Irish person, there's a Scottish person. It's dude, you don't represent. You got no Welsh characters. This is in Wales. Do you have something against the Welsh?
Maybe the Welsh make you pay extra.
You see, it's not like Cardiff is one of the hubs in the UK for actors or anything.
Maybe they didn't shoot in Cardiff, but anyway. So he's got this theory that if you have a terminal illness or a very deadly illness, that they will pass you by, because he's seen all these people. There was a homeless man in Newark who was sitting there just drinking whiskey and watching all the zombies run by.
It was
So-
like, ah!
So, like the predators won't go to you because you can't spread the virus because you're going to die soon. Which is kind of the logic of a parasite, not a pathogen.
And it's a bit stupid because the zombies can survive getting entire clips of ammo put into their chest. They can survive falling off a skyscraper and crushing a car. I think that if you've got, like, typhus and you're going to die soon, if you become a zombie, your zombie is not going to die soon from
Yeah, what if you're
typhus.
HIV positive? You're going to die eventually.
Yeah, it's, you know...
It could be some kind of evolutionary thing, though. But so anyway,
If
he
you're
was
a zombie, you're immortal
well,
in this movie.
so he was like, so you guys have pathogens. And they were like, well, that's the thing. Because any deadly pathogens are stored in a special vault in B Wing, which was the one wing that's closed off because guess what? The zombies are there.
It was very nice of them to do a slightly better remake of Resident Evil right at the end of their movie.
So they and the Middle Eastern guy who's in charge go all the way through
Yeah,
B
the
Wing.
Israeli woman who's got no hand and had it cut off 3
She's
days
like a
ago.
nice, like,
She has to go too.
she's hardcore though.
She's the only soldier there.
Listen,
yes,
I have worked for an Israeli telecom company staffed by people who are ex-military. The Israeli military is freaking hardcore.
I don't think Krav Maga will help you very much against zombies.
She's got skills. But so anyway, so they do
See,
your
I'm just
standard
thinking
dungeon
that
crawl.
They should have brought Peter Capaldi because this
He
guy.
was old.
This Peter Capaldi, you bring him, he's a secret weapon, you just bring him in there, you make him yell cunt and fuck at them. If you've seen the thick of it, this man is one of the great. This guy, okay, you've seen Gordon Ramsay's, yelling in a British accent? Peter Capaldi is him times 10. If you get him, he could yell them to death. Just saying.
So they have their standard dungeon crawl while they're in there, and Brad Pitt runs off making noise to draw the zombies, and everything goes tits up, and the Israeli and guy that runs the faculty end up escaping back through B Wing and back to the safety, and everyone's like, what's happened to Jerry? But they're tracking him on the cameras. He's managed to find this vault, and
which makes you wonder why their plan wasn't get people, get 2 people over there into the area, hide, and then have a third person be by the doors, make a lot of noise to attract the zombies, so then they would be able to go off and do the experiment.
that's true, because then you could just hop back in the doors and be safe, but
Yeah.
they didn't think that through. But so anyway,
Apparently
so he
the
finds
soldier's not good at tactics.
Well, he finds the vault, and so he gets inside with all these horrible deadly diseases, and he puts them all in a box, and then there is one zombie on the outside, like, wah, wah, wah. And they all make this really high-pitched, like,
And
kind
just a
of
clicking
noise.
thing with his teeth are like...
It looked like some kind of, like, weird, like,
It was like chattering, the comedy teeth chattering that you can get on the
and,
floor.
like, every
It's like
time
that.
he did this, you could hear people out in the audience laughing.
I have to say, one thing I do love about going to the cinema in America, especially in Maryland, is the fact that you get, like, really, really mouthy sort of couples, like today.
Like us?
Well, no, we were quite soft. Down the road from us, there was this rather charming, I think they were African American couple, but they were yelling stuff every so often. It was great.
No, they weren't yelling.
It was
They
like a
were-
riff track.
No, they weren't yelling. They were just speaking loud enough that we could hear.
Well, still, it was like a riff
Yeah.
track. It was
Well,
great.
you're not supposed to be ready. I mean, you can't, like, sometimes, like, when we went to go see Tintin,
I'm not complaining.
that was, like, a shout at the screen, but, you can get thrown out of the theater. Like, that's why I kept saying, would you keep it down?
They were being loud to me, but I liked that.
So, yeah, because when they were doing the dungeon crawl, the guy was like, this is just like that part in Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, do you ever play Left 4 Dead? Because the girlfriend was like, you can use a crowbar against a zombie, and he was like, you never play Left 4 Dead, and I have to say that it is truly, truly sad that this is the closest thing we're likely to get to a Left 4 Dead movie, because several bits of it were very similar. I was like, oh dear.
So, no shit, there Brad Pitt was, inside of the vault with all these deadly diseases. So there's no way he can get out. So he decides that he's going to shoot up with one of... sorry, my air conditioning just turned on, so sorry about that. He's going to shoot up with one of these vials of pathogen, which were all bacteria, by the way. And the thing that I thought immediately was, that's the bacteria in a solution in its concentrated form. So that's probably enough bacteria to give you some kind of toxic shock,
Yeah, it's enough to kill like an entire city's worth of people, and because Brad Pitt, everyone dies, so Brad
Plus,
Pitt may
for
live.
some reason,
I survived.
they didn't label any of this stuff. I check out, okay, maybe for security concerns, but seriously, the amount of clearances to get to that vault Nothing was labeled.
Brad Pitt, nothing in this movie can kill him. He's in a plane crash, he gets stabbed, he injects himself with enough to like kill a herd of elephants.
Oh, and they're watching this happen because they can see through the camera, and he knows they can because he holds up a little sign that says "Tell my family I love them," and he just takes one at random, and they're like, "Well, which one is he?" He goes, "Well, and the one of the guy goes, "Well, if he got anything from the cabinet on the left, he's dead anyway." And I thought to myself, okay, if it's like typhoid fever, if it's like botulism, if it's anything like that, probably they have the antidote. What if he chose HIV?
Well, HIV, they're very close to an antidote on that.
That's no consolation. So,
but HIV is it's more of a chronic thing now. You can get the drugs and you can keep it under control for the rest of your life.
That still sucks for him. But anyway.
It sucks, yeah.
So, now he's invisible to the zombies. He can walk through them. And there's this great scene where there's a whole bunch of zombies standing there like, because they like become dormant and just twitch. And he stops at a vending machine and drinks a Pepsi. It was great.
Yeah, it's just like Brad Pitt. He doesn't actually need everyone to die for him because he can take absolutely anything. And then he takes enough to kill a herd of elephants, and then he has time to get a drink before casually walking past with the zombies, being like,
yeah. He makes the vending machine discharge all the soda. So they come running through the doors, and there's this great scene of him walking through the skybridge. Just like they're like, wow, wow.
Just seeing his face, it's just like. I haven't walked past a group of people who don't give a shit about me since like 1993. This is nice.
So he gets back, and they inoculate him for whatever he has, and then they take him to Nova Scotia, and he gets reunited with his family and his new son, somehow. Tommy.
Then they're all like, "We're gonna turn this into a vaccine and
He's
kill
like,
everything."
"This isn't the end. I'm gonna have a voiceover now."
This is apparently the start of the war, because previously it was we're dying thing. So,
although one thing about this, and I felt twitchy and uncomfortable throughout the whole movie, and it wasn't because it sucked, and I couldn't really put my finger on what it was until the very end, and I think it was that. So in every movie, especially a disaster movie, you have, the major disaster that happens, and then the slow return to normality. And, the survivors, get back together, like in The Stand, they remake Denver and stuff like that. But something is innately unsettling about the collapse of Earth's structural integrity, not like the physical Earth, but like society, cities as old as history being destroyed, population being brought to the brink of extinction, that it's just kind of really unnerving. It's like when you have that one like little hair on your neck that keeps bothering you like the whole day, and so he's like, this is not the end, but now we're fighting back and stuff like that. And as you realize at the end of the movie, there is never going to be a return to status quo for the human race in the world of this movie, and it was kind of unsettling. I don't like seeing the structural integrity of society break down like that, and I think what I would have preferred, would have made this movie better and eased that bit of dissonance, would have been for this zombie apocalypse to have had a clear time frame. Like one guy said, oh, well, it was a few weeks ago, it was enough time for Israel to build a wall. So how long did this take? Because in America, like, in Philly, they ate pancakes that morning, went driving somewhere in the city, and then all of a sudden it was overrun with zombies, and like literally the East Coast of America fell. Yeah. So I'm like, if we'd had a better time frame, if it hadn't been like, I just woke up and bam, the apocalypse, I think that would have been better.
Well, I find it hilarious when everything's destroyed.
So final thoughts, I guess, would be zombies. It was
basically an action-adventure-y sort of PG-13 action-adventure-y thing, but with added zombies. This film would have been improved about 20% or something if they'd given it like 15 R rating, something like that, at least.
I want to see a movie about actual zombies.
There's almost no blood in it.
I want to see. I want to see a movie where like
The Serpent and the Rainbow.
No, that's a documentary though, isn't it?
No, it's Wes Craven directed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, stars Bill Pullman.
I always thought it was a documentary. But no, like I want to see something modern, like where it's just like some kind of like drug dealer who has like a drug plantation and he's stealing people to zombify them, and put them give them the right drugs to induce a zombie state.
Well, we're unlikely to get that from a mainstream Hollywood studio because there's way too much possibility for accidental racism.
Yeah.
Michael Bay might make it, but then you'd have all
Well,
the zombies being jive talking.
It wouldn't have to be Haitian. It could be like a Colombian drug lord.
Well, I know, but I'm just
They're
saying
always up to no good.
that because of the connections with Haitian stuff. I got a feeling that most studios would shy away from it.
Yeah, that's true.
Although, do you know what would have been really good? You know that there was Abraham Lincoln versus Vampire Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
The Asylum version, Abraham Lincoln versus zombies,
Mm-hmm.
made much more sense thematically because you got slaves. Slavery has connections with Haiti. With African beliefs, which were brought over to Haiti. So thematically, Abraham Lincoln versus zombies made much more sense.
I'm really sad that Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, the movie, didn't do well because I read the book thinking it would be shit. It was very well written. Very well.
But my final thoughts on the movie are, it was stupid. It should have been gorier, and it was pretty stupid.
It was
It's silly. But for
we
trailers,
got a trailer for Ron Burgundy too, which I've never seen the first one, so
I could give less of a shit about, but it would be difficult.
there was another sequel that you're excited about, and now I am. Machete.
Oh yes, Machete 2. Yeah, Machete Kills. I looking forward to it. Loved Machete 1. It is really amusing to me that Mel Gibson is currently playing villains. He might be the villain in The Expendables 3. It's just like Mel Gibson. He realizes that the only work he can get is being bad, and having people be amused at his death.
And introducing Carlos Estevez.
Charlie
It's
Sheen.
so great.
Charlie Sheen using his real name. It's great.
What else? We got the same trailer for R.I.P.D. again.
What I find amusing about Machete, Hispanics might be the only group that Mel Gibson hasn't actually assaulted verbally.
That's true.
So, I think I knew there was. So,
We got a lot of trailers actually. What else do we get?
we got one for the Wolverine. It would be nice to see an X-Men movie without him, to be honest. It looks better than Origins. I want to know why the Silver Samurai is a robot, though, and why Viper is apparently a snake-based mutant.
I don't know. It looked really cool, and I like Wolverine. So.
There was the Wolf of Wall Street, which
Looks stupid. Oh yeah, and millions upon billions of people affected by the recession. And this is a movie about the guys who got us there. And if it doesn't end with all of them like
lined up and
castrated by crowbar before being lined up and shot, then I'm not going to see it.
it looks like Wall Street, but imagine if Gordon Gekko was playing Charlie Sheen's character, and there's what do you call
Leonardo
him?
DiCaprio was in it, which apparently he can only play rich people now.
And there's Matthew McConaughey was in it.
Looking weird.
And I want to know at what point did Matthew McConaughey decide that he was John Glover? Because he was just playing John Glover.
Yeah.
Plus, Matthew McConaughey, after he became famous in about 1994, him and Renée Zellweger had just starred in a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4. And then they both became really famous before it was released. And they sued to try and get the movie destroyed. And it didn't work, but it was delayed for a couple of years. So it finally came out, and they were all embarrassed by it. But having seen Matthew McConaughey's performance in the trailer here, and I saw Magic Mike, so I'm just wondering, why is he embarrassed by Texas Chainsaw 4? I mean, he did a ridiculous and insane and silly performance, but he's been doing that for years now. What's the difference? Just because it's got the words Texas Chainsaw Massacre and it's got like this large transvestite who kills people with a chainsaw? Because I gotta say that would have improved Magic Mike.
We also got one for something called The Conjuring, which seems to be your standard oh no's horror. Although I want to say
Jump scare.
I pointed this out.
Jump scare.
I really dislike when they're like, but what twisted horrifying secret are they gonna find?
That it was directed by James Wan. It was probably written by Lee. What do you call him? He wrote Saw.
Well, and then so I don't really. The problem with horror movies is the deep, dark, terrifying, horrifying secret is never as deep, dark, terrifying as they promise. It's usually something that's not very terrifying. I can think of something more terrifying. So usually with horror movies,
She really can.
Yeah.
She comes up with horror book ideas, and they're really, really good.
I came up with a really good one on my way home from work the other day. But so what I'll do is if I liked the trailer, I will wait till the movie comes out and read a synopsis online to find out the deep, dark, horrifying secret. I'm like, that's not horrifying. If it was this, this, and this, it would be horrifying.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen a really good horror film in many years.
El Orfanato.
I think the
I had to kind of rush up the stairs with the cats after turning all the lights off.
I still haven't watched that. It's my pile.
Well, you can't watch it while I'm around because I can't see it again.
The only one that I can remember that the last truly great horror film I saw was The Japanese Ring, and that was because that film was one long build-up to one scare, and it was pulled off immaculately. It was a work of art.
But yeah, the cool part was that we got free posters.
We did that. I'm going to give mine away to someone who gives a shit.
They're in the car. But so we better stop the vlog because I think we're going to run out of camera battery.
This is our longest vlog ever.
So anyway, you know who we are. You know what we do. Go see the movie if you think it sounds cool.
If not, we don't know if we're going to be going to the cinema again while I'm over. So the next time you see a vlog from one of us two, it may well be me and Arna Carrion at Pacific Rim, depending. But if we find something that we're interested in, we'll go see.
Bye, everybody.